Hi there. Here's 9 ways to make 2025 the best composing year of your life. I'm going to refer to my notes down here so that if I'm looking down here, you know where I'm going. First of all, and you won't like this because it's really painful, but it is the most effective way of improving your composing technique that I know anyway, and that is to start transcribing. Okay, transcribing. Well, what can this look like? First of all, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want. And you need to have a purpose to it, I think is what I would say. So transcribing in its simplest form is you listening to a piece of music and reproducing it yourself in some way. Now, it could be that you are listening and you are then writing down in notation or whatever way you want to write it down, the melody and the chords. So you're learning about how the composer put the chords and melody together. It might be that you're transcribing it literally instrument for instrument so you can work out how the orchestration is working. It might be that you are trying to get the production sounding like yours and you do it in your DAW. You have a WAV file of the actual of a sort of reference track or the transcribing track, and you try and literally reproduce that yourself, comparing an A and Bing all the time. It's a painful, slow progress thing. However, I honestly think that every minute you spend doing it is infinitely fruitful in a way that you can't really describe until you've done it. My big tip on it would be to have a purpose, like I said, have a goal in mind. Are you trying to get your drums sounding as good as in another trailer track and copying those? Are you trying to work out the orchestration of something and trying to copy that? Are you interested in the harmonic language that the composer is using, so you would write and transcribe some of that? Have a goal in mind that you want to learn and you want to improve and you want to find out, that you're exploring, is the first thing. Second thing I would really say is to concentrate on a really small segment at a time if you want to, depending on how much you want to do. But doing small little bits in infinite detail and getting the minutiae of detail and accuracy and going over and over and over it and learning it and just absolutely absorbing it is far more beneficial than doing a longer stretch of music and just sort of glossing over it. So transcribing, I guarantee it, if you do it properly and you do it regularly, will absolutely transform the level of your composing. You will learn so much. Second thing, start critical listening. I suppose I've been listening to music for I'm 56, so 56 years. And I often, when I'm writing, think, well, where did that come from? How do I know how to do that? And I don't really know the answer to it. Or sometimes I'll be writing and I think, oh, okay, that sounds a little bit like this, that, and the other. So I realized that you build up a bank of musical experience, and you can do that by transcribing, but you can also do it by listening. And I'm not talking about the sort of listening where you're driving the car and you're listening to something in the car, or you're doing the washing up, or you're having a conversation, or you've got background music. I'm talking about critical listening, which is sitting down and literally just soaking up what's going on. Now, in a way, that can be quite difficult to do, because I think you have to sort of remove yourself from the emotion of the music, and that in a way is counterintuitive to enjoying music and what music's about. And I think you have to be able to learn somehow to be able to switch from one to the other, from critical listening to listening as an emotional being, I suppose. And it can be hard going from one to the other, I find, because I do tend to now listen too critically to stuff and don't let my brain sort of fire off with the images, and I see music in colour and shapes, which is a bit bizarre. Sometimes I suppress that because I'm listening critically to what's going on. I'm a bit of a nightmare to watch TV with sometimes, because I will be so busy listening to the music that's going on, I'm not actually listening to the plot. And my other half thinks it is always very hilarious because I never know really what's going on in a long drama series. I just totally lose the plot, but I can tell you what's happening with the music. So yeah, listening to music on its own, it's a bit of a lost art, I think, sitting down and listening to music. I mean, do we do that anymore? I don't know. I think culturally maybe we don't so much, but it's really, really valuable. The other thing is to widen your listening list as well. He's sounding very old. I do think things like Spotify and Apple Music are not great for this sort of thing because to a certain extent we've got so much choice that we can just listen to what we like. And of course the algorithms feed us music that fits in with what we've listened to before. So you end up listening really to a fairly bland, broad base of sort of what you like all the time. And actually it's really good to be pushed way out of your comfort zone and to explore. And I think I don't think we're encouraged to do that so much. There's so much choice in a way that it's really difficult to do that. Or you come across something that you sort of on first listening think, not too sure about that. And it's really easy just to click away and find something that you like a bit more. And just because you don't like a piece of music on first listening particularly, it doesn't mean it's not good music, valuable music and music that you could learn from potentially, and it could widen your musical vocabulary and outlook. Next thing is to list your weak areas and specifically work on them bit by bit. So I think I do now, I have done this in the past, but I think at the moment I tend to assume that if I'm writing music I will improve as I go along, and you do. But it's worth sitting down and being really systematic and thinking, well, actually, what am I not great at? Is it orchestration? Do I use the same chords over and over again? Is my melody writing really boring? I'm not great at mixing, maybe, and really honing down on those specific things and specifically finding solutions to them, be it searching out YouTube videos or doing courses and stuff, which are great. But 99% of us will watch a YouTube video and think, okay, well, that's great, but we won't actually do what we learn. So I think the actual doing of the learning is really important. So being really, really laser focused, finding something that teaches you to do it, and then practicing it over and over again. So in isolation, practicing it, not in your piece that you're composing, but set yourself an hour of actual mixing practice or melody writing practice or something once a day for a few weeks or something like that. So giving yourself specific goals is really important. Getting feedback, completely vital. We all have a skewed view of what our music sounds like. It's a bit like cooking a meal, I think. I think a meal that's been cooked by somebody else, particularly if it's in a fancy restaurant and is served really beautifully, always tastes better than something that you threw together yourself in the kitchen and you know exactly what went into it, what didn't, and when you licked your fingers and tasted it. So in that, using that analogy, it would follow that we're all very highly critical of our own music, and I think often we can be because we don't hear it in the way that a first listener does. Conversely, it's very easy to get wrapped up in a little hook or something and think, oh, that's really cool and just love that, and be totally taken away by what you've written and give it a sort of false sense of importance and the fact that it's really great and it's not. So getting some feedback, really, really vitally important, and it needs to be feedback from I don't really think it's a great idea to try and get feedback from Facebook groups and things like that, because you don't really know who you're getting the feedback from. You could be getting feedback from somebody that doesn't know anything about your genre, doesn't know anything about music, to be honest. Somebody who's not actually as good as you, or somebody who's just having a really bad day, and it would be possible to get some really negative feedback that could be really damaging, or conversely some really positive feedback, because people like to be nice when really you need something more constructive. So I've always avoided that myself, but never done it, and always gone to people that I trust, people who have a reputation and have, some solid musical background to give you feedback on your stuff. Collaborating, another great way to improve your composing. There's nothing like the inspiration of working with somebody else, the inspiration of really pushing your game to sort of get with what they're doing. Ideally collaborate with somebody who's a few steps ahead of you. They will drag you up with them and you will improve. Get out of your comfort zone. I think we can all write stuff that we know and that we like. We all know our genres, we all know our set sounds, we all know our sort of little ways of writing A and B sections and things like that. Do something different. Listen to some, in your critical listen to some ways of developing music that you haven't done before, for example, and get out of your comfort zone. Use some instruments you've never used before. Try a completely different genre that you've never tried before. Try writing in 7/8 rather than 4/4, for example, you know, or in an odd meter. Try some keys that you've never used before. Try some modulations or some chord progressions that you've never thought of or never used before. Don't keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Try and be fresh. Finally, last thing is to make some of your own instruments. I think it's going to be really, really inspiring and really, really improve your sound and make your sound unique, make it more you. I think it helps you to listen, to learn about how sample instruments work, particularly if you create stuff of your own. Making your own instruments is really, really relatively easy using Contact or a sampler. There's loads of stuff on the internet about how to do it, and it can give you a really unique sound. And also, working with an instrument that you've recorded and made is just really exciting and really inspiring. It's a really, really great thing to do. Finally, so number 9 is to get into a routine. There's nothing like waiting for inspiration to strike, I think, to sort of cripple your composing progress. Sometimes one feels inspired and sometimes one doesn't. And I think we need to, particularly in production music, get over the feeling that we are artists. We're waiting for divine inspiration. We're not. We are builders and sparkies and craftsmen, I think. And people like that get up in the morning and they build stuff and they make stuff. And that's what we are here to do. And sometimes it will be easy and you'll feel inspired, and other times you won't. And the times when you don't feel inspired are the times where you learn and you grow and you develop, I think, a lot. But getting into a routine is the only way that you will really get music written, improve, and get stuff, sort of get the ball rolling, if that makes sense. You know, you really do need to get into a habit of writing music. And that habit, I think, once you get into it, can be self-perpetuating. I write in the morning. I can't write in the evenings. I can, but it's really rubbish. But so I write in the mornings after breakfast, literally. And I write 5, sometimes usually 6 mornings a week. If on a Sunday when I don't write, or if I have a week off or something, I have my breakfast and my brain starts spinning music, which in a way is really lovely. In another way, it can be really annoying. Purely because I sort of I feel I have a slight sense of conditioning. You know, my brain is like, oh, hello, I've had your breakfast, here's your coffee. Oh, look, it's time to start making some music. And I think getting into that groove is really, really important. And it doesn't have to be in the morning. You might be a night owl, or you might, have time during a lunch hour or whenever to write music. But getting into a regular routine a regular pattern, I think, is really important. So there we go. I think 2025 can be a fantastic composing year for you. 1, 2, 3 or 4 of those, or any of them, I think will make a big difference. If it was one to choose, I think I would say the transcribing one is the one that will cause you probably the most pain, but will also have the most gain. Good luck with it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.